Good morning. Good morning. Hopefully, you're having a good morning. I'm T Shroom here, in for the Investing Bros, and I'm going to take us down an interesting path here. We've been pretty bullish on the crypto markets here, and this could be taking a bit of a turn. We're going to find out in this video, should you start to be bearish on crypto? We're going to start here on the Bitcoin chart. And as we've seen, a nice little recovery for Bitcoin recently. Let me turn some of these indicators off here. We've got the Fibonacci trend extension, which I may bring back here. But right now we've seen the daily wick come down and go ahead and tap just under this downtrending line of support before moving back to the upside. This to me is pretty bullish. I know I started the video with saying that we're going to look at it from a bearish perspective. That's going to be more from a news perspective, because what I'm seeing here on the charts is anything but bearish. This is very, very bullish. Let's look at the Lux Algo oscillator matrix. Bullish, right? Had the reversal here on the daily chart, had the reversal dot here, moving up. And while the money flow isn't necessarily moving in a very positive direction, it is slightly positive, and it is green, right? So this is generally pretty bullish here as well. And then on the MACD, you are getting those red histograms waning and a bull cross imminent. So T-Shroom, what the heck? Why are you saying it's bearish? Well, we're going to get into the news here. There's a story from Arthur Hayes. Arthur Hayes, someone who I know, like, and trust quite a bit. I've read a lot of his blogs that he puts out via email. What are those called? Newsletters. And so we're going to get into some of the details that he's talked about there. Before I do, I just want to give us a snapshot here of the Bitcoin ETFs. We got more net positive inflows yesterday, so this is good. Kind of a breath of fresh air when it comes to the ETFs, because for a while we're kind of teetering down. Had a lot of net outflows back here in mid-March, and then that definitely recovered. But then you kind of lost a little bit of momentum here toward the end toward the very beginning of April, and now we're steadily kind of coming back up. What is this? This is the amount of wealth rotating into the Bitcoin ETFs, and this is the net chart, and this is the real chart. So this is the different. You could take a screenshot of this if you'd like, but this is updated every weekday, and you can see which of the funds had inflows and which had outflows. Of course, Grayscale is going to be notoriously the biggest seller of Bitcoin right now, not out of its own choice, but because of its high fees and the incentive structure there. That's a story for a different time. Overall, when it comes to charts and metrics and data, all systems are go for a nice bullish Bitcoin here, moving in further into the future. I will come back and turn this trend assistant on. We'll turn the trend-based fib extension on. There's so many indicators, guys. So many indicators that are floating around here. As you can see, in this more local trend-based fib extension that I have drawn out, we're finding quite a bit of resistance here on the golden pocket, and we had a nice wick out of it on yesterday's candle. Didn't get quite up to the platinum pocket here, but we did get up to the upper band of the Bollinger Band there, which isn't a line of resistance, but it is a line on the chart. The biggest thing that I'm seeing here really is that we found support here on this downtrending line of support. We needed to find that. That is a classic retest, and for all intensive purposes, this could potentially be a setup for a move higher up to where I have it marked to these new to 74,000. That is kind of what everybody's eye is on here in the crypto markets, and I think that likely we will get up to 64. But that's bullish, T-Shroom. What the heck? I thought you said that everything is about to crash, everything is going bearish. I never said that. I said we're exploring whether or not it is. And speaking of which, let's go ahead and do just that. Let's see. Eric Wallen saying, "Morning, fellas." Drew P said, "Yo, yo, yo." So Drew P letting us know what's up. French Toaster said, "Who else is feeling better than they deserve?" Excellent, excellent. Gotta love it. Wild Deuces says, "I wonder what song T-Shroom gonna sing to piss away that sweet, sweet monetization." So we're having fun. Alex AB asking a long question here. I might get back to that one a little bit later, because it's a big, beefy, juicy question. Crypto Freddy said, good morning, G-Bros. Excellent. Bitcoin could slump around reward halving time, Arthur Hayes says. So when I see Arthur Hayes, I'm not thinking FUD. I'm not thinking FOMO. I'm thinking just accurate data. Why do I think this? It's because of who Arthur Hayes is. Arthur Hayes is a co-founder and former CEO of crypto exchange BitMEX. Folks, he's been around. And he's currently the chief investment officer over at Maelstrom, which is his own family office. Okay. Here's his thesis for this halving. The narrative of the halving being positive for crypto prices is well entrenched, and I would agree. When most market participants agree on a certain outcome, including T-Shroom, the opposite usually occurs. That is why I believe Bitcoin and crypto prices are, in general, will slump around the halving. Several analysts have argued that the supply slowdown is priced in and the market could correct following the event. Bitcoin has rallied over 65% this year, setting new records above 70K well before the halving. He also goes on to cite this tax angle, and I will get into that. Tax payments to suck out liquidity. Before we get to that, though, just kind of digesting what we've read so far. So he's basically just kind of taking the contrarian position, right? Which for someone like Arthur Hayes makes a lot of sense. He literally started one of the first Bitcoin trading markets in exactly what his future, his past. He was the CEO and founder of BitMEX, right? So he has a lot of experience trading crypto both ways, trading assets both ways, to the upside and the downside. So he's no stranger to trying to predict when to short, right? But is it anything more than just a contrarian trade? Is there any kind of logic behind what he's saying here, or is it really just a contrarian perspective, which you could take a contrarian perspective on literally anything, right? So that's it could just be that, right? So I trust him, but is his argument valid? Let's read on. Hayes added that U.S. tax payments due on April 15th, coupled with the Federal Reserve's quantitative tightening policies, could remove dollar liquidity from the market, leading to broad-based risk aversion and a fire sale of crypto assets around the halving. Now, fire sale sounds a bit extreme, and I would definitely take opposition to that part because I think a lot of the folks who are in crypto now are still not that rabid, overly frothy, extreme greed, new retail that is going to come in and bring Bitcoin up to 100, 150, 200, 250,000 per coin. Those folks are not yet in the space. I think, and this is why I don't think we're going to see a fire sale. And who even knows what that really subjective term even means? But fire sale to me says that there's a new thesis for selling. I don't think that there's a thesis for selling, but he's kind of laying out why there's going to be limited liquidity after the halving due to macro factors. And I do agree with that. So the tax aspect of it and the Federal Reserve's quantitative tightening policy, I do generally agree with that. Although I think that in the same way that you could say the halving is baked in, you could also say that the Federal Reserve's quantitative tightening is baked in. But I just don't know. It's hard to gauge that because we have on Caleb Framson, we have him on every single week, and I don't know if we're spoiled or if we have the luxury, or it just makes sense to us. But Caleb Framson has his head on straight so well that we've been prepared for the Fed to not cut for a long time because of Caleb and other folks like him in the Twitterverse that we follow at the macro level. So the big question there is it baked in? Are any of these dynamics baked in? Or is it all just ETF? Is it all just ETF inflows? But Hayes goes on. Given that the halving occurs at a time when dollar liquidity is tighter than usual, it will add propellant to a raging fire sale of crypto assets. The timing of the halving adds further weight to my decision to abstain from trading until May, Hayes says. So, a master trader is saying that he's going to abstain from the trading markets in general. But what's interesting is what he also says here. He goes on to say, he says this, the precocious period for risky assets is April 15th to May 1st. And then he says, after May 1st, the pace of QT tight declines, and Yellen gets busy cashing checks to jack up asset prices. If you were a trader looking for an opportune time to put in a cheeky short position, the month of April is a perfect time to do so. So didn't he just say that he's not going to be trading until May? But he says that, yeah, he's going to be abstaining for trading till May. But if you want to put in a short, April would be the perfect time to do so. So is he saying both that he's it's the perfect time to do something and he's going to abstain from doing that thing? It's a little bit of backward logic for me. After May 1st, it's back to regular programming, asset inflation sponsored by Fed and U.S. Treasury financial shenanigans, Hayes wrote. One hack that I don't really take advantage of is buying puts on Bitcoin or Bitcoin exposed stocks. It's something that you can do to get a little bit of cheap insurance, right? So, you buy the put, you're paying for the contract, you're paying for that the pleasure of being able to exercise that contract, or experience, the upside from it as your underlying asset, Bitcoin, has a pullback. So that's one way to kind of play this. The other way to think about it is to just go ahead and short, through trading exchanges like Blofin, go ahead and just short Bitcoin, and you kind of hedge it that way, and then you just sell the short, and you get out, and you take those gains, and presumably you'd rotate back into Bitcoin or do whatever you'd like with it. But in any case, Arthur Hayes really has me thinking here about the bigger picture, right? Which is what is going to happen after the halving event here that is very, very quickly approaching. It's not far away at all. It's just it's just a week and some change away. Let's take a look here at the stock to flow model. You can see that it is calculating exactly 4:20 still, okay, and it looks like it's going to be 4 p.m. on that day is when it's currently calculated to be, and it's just a few days away. You can see it's denoted here. You can't really see it all that well, but it's denoted by. Okay, that was a terrible zoom in. Sorry. It's denoted by this kind of change in that angle is when that is going to be taking place. So you can see halving right around in here, 4:20 right there, right? So it's just a week and some change away. What will happen at this point in time? Well, historically, you can see that when the halving occurs, right into the halving, there was a pullback here in 2014. Back here in 2017, there was a bit of a pullback. If we zoom in, there was a bit of a pullback into the halving, but then by the halving, we were back up and moving right along. And then if we go back to the most recent halving, you can kind of see that there was definitely a pullback and a sustained lower levels compared to just months prior, sustained lower levels until that halving eventually led to quite a bit of upward movement. So overall, guys, I'm sorry, I just explained that completely wrong. So there's the halving is not when this peaks. That is the result of the halving. So we're moving into the period where this starts to come up. Let me re-explain this. My apologies. So back here, when the angle changes, there was a pullback just before then in the blue phase, and that moved higher. That moved eventually, essentially sideways until it began to move higher. And then in the next halving, again, my apologies, having to re-explain this, but you also had a bit of a pullback right into the halving, and then sideways, and then higher. And then we are likely to see, in my opinion, and in the opinion of Arthur Hayes here, something similar where, we've seen nice elevation in the price, and a lot of that has to do with the spot ETFs, the inflows there, and the bullishness generally around Bitcoin early, right? But it's traditionally not until the halving that folks start to really hear about Bitcoin and hear about the supply shock and all of these things. But because Arthur's essentially saying because of the macro conditions and because of the American tax system timing, that we're actually going to see quite a bit more downside for Bitcoin here into the halving, and then a move higher. So he's saying, through April, which is the month we're in now, take a short, right, and then by May, you come back, right, and you go long again. So tell me what you guys think, because your guess is as good as mine. Just kidding. I think right now, I would like to hear what folks are having to say. So let's go over to the chart. Let's go over to the chat and see. I have the beholder said it's about to crash to the upside. Okay, so a strong denial. Buenos dias, Nancy. Let's see, 90% coverage, whatever. I saw it like 90%. Oh, they're talking about the talking about the eclipse. So overall here, my kind of position on this is that we will likely see some sideways to downside movement, and at the very least, some volatility into the halving, right? We've seen this consolidation kind of waiting for Bitcoin to go ahead and hit that halving, right? That would come in right around here, right? But the consolidation happened in this pennant pattern, which usually breaks bullish, but also is going to go ahead and be too early for the halving. So the pressure kind of built up, and we luckily had a nice break to the upside. So by the time we get to the halving, I think we'll be in some pretty interesting volatility. I could see potentially the prices coming down. The question is now, just how low could these prices go? I would be pretty surprised to see them get down below 64,800, just because of the level of wealth that is now educated on Bitcoin and its relationship to world governments that are in crippling debt. I think that the thesis is too strong, really, for Bitcoin to get too much lower than 64, right? But if I'm wrong on that, then I think the next level would likely be somewhere around 58. Sorry, I went down here. Probably more closer to 58. And why do I say that? Well, that's going to coincide with this larger Fibonacci extension that I have drawn out on a much larger time frame. You can see there. This coincides with the top of the golden pocket here. So you would have been in no man's land without this indicator, which is just Fibonacci trend extension. You would have been in no man's land here in this kind of like where Bitcoin shot up from 52 all the way up to 62 in a matter of just 3 days, causing kind of no man's land. But that is the golden pocket there. So my guess is that 58 would be that next level lower. However, again, my base case is that we do not go below 64,008. Why? Well, we have to go out to the monthly chart for the monthly chart for this to see that 64.8 here coincides with the wick high from 2021 April, right? So right now, I'm thinking Bitcoin bullish, right, on the daily chart. It's very likely that we get a breakout. We continue this breakout higher, right? But I think that it's unlikely that we start to put in new all-time highs, that we really test the upper band of the platinum pocket, and that all-time highs are realized. And why is that? I think is because a lot of folks are probably starting to read these types of theses on Bitcoin, and they're saying, if I can buy lower, I will. And it's going to be a persistent thought in the market. And we will just have to wait and see, right? So how am I playing this one? Well, I'm not buying more Bitcoin today, but it's not because I don't want more Bitcoin. It's because I think that there's more upside opportunity in altcoins. Coins like AVAX and stocks like MSRT, MicroStrategies, and Coinbase and CleanSpark, right? Other altcoins potentially. I mean, there's a lot of great altcoins out there that are still underbought, like Cardano, Caspa, Polkadot, Compound, VeChain is actually pretty still underbought, Jupiter, and Uniswap. The list goes on and on. There's a lot of ways to get exposed to the crypto markets. The question is, do you buy it now when Bitcoin is likely to go ahead and have another good fight to try to get up above 64,000? But as Arthur Pays is pointing out, this may be kind of in vain, as it's likely to go ahead and round over and come back and test lower just before the halving and into the halving, and maybe even months after the halving, before that supply shock really kicks in and folks start to get over-educated. The market becomes saturated with education on the halving and why Bitcoin is now more scarce. And so, but the way that I'm kind of thinking of playing it is buying assets that are going to have disproportionate upside to Bitcoin. Bitcoin going to be very, very good this year. It's going to outperform the S&P by in real estate by quite a wide margin. However, there are also coins that are going to do even better. Chainlink, another one of those that's slated in my mind to do pretty well. So I'm not necessarily buying today, right? And I'm probably not going to be buying tomorrow or the next or through this week as we kind of anticipate a higher move. What I think is we wait till this rejection and this move lower. I'll kind of draw it out. Wait for a rejection up here at the platinum pocket, a move lower, and then start to nibble again. Start to add to those bags in and around here. And then if we do get the blessing to go ahead and have a lower test, then probably picking up quite a bit down here. So deploying maybe 50% here, and then the other 50% down here. And of course, you can mix and match whatever percentage you think is good, or maybe you go 100% in here and all-time highs because you just can't help yourself, right? whatever you want to do. But that's a strategy that I like. That's kind of what I'm foreseeing, because it also could make sense for Arthur's argument to be completely invalid when there's a lot of big money coming in right now. And his argument would be invalidated if Bitcoin could get up above 74,000, find some support, and then start to push higher. That's also a possibility. And I think then Arthur Hayes would probably be just completely wrong, right? So that's the long and short of it. Really just riffing off of this one exclusive article. But I have more. I have more news if you guys want to hear it. But let's go to the comments. Let's go to the chat and see. T-Shroom, what's your biggest bag altcoin under 150 million market cap? That's a good question that I would need to kind of do some clicking around to find the answer to. Off the top of my head, let's see, what is... Like I said, then we get into the dead air, and I don't like doing that to you guys. I want you guys to have something interesting to think about. But 150 million market cap? Ooh, I don't know, but you want to have some payout, right? Let's see. Yeah, I was going to say compound, but compound is 600 million. So that's quite a bit above 150. Let me think on that. Maybe Ordi? What is Ordi at? But Ordi's a meme coin, so it's not really a good example. Yeah, Ordi's a bunch more. Ordi's a billion, billion four. I'm sorry, I'm not prepared to answer that question right now. But to be honest with you, I've kind of reaccumulated into the higher alts, just because I had really good entry positions on those, and I just wanted to add to those positions. Caspa, I do not believe is under 150 million. Let's see. Yeah, we're getting kind of off track here, but yeah, no, it's 3.2 billion. So. Yeah, I'm just not really a gem hunter, right? At the end of the day, I see a lot of potential for folks who have gems in their bag. I think that you could do very, very well if you've invested appropriately. However, that's just not my game, and it's not really Tim's game either. There's tons of channels that do that very well. Crypto Meme said daily retest going on in a few alts today. Yeah, definitely. Zachary Martin said, good morning, T-Shroom. Good morning to you, Zachary Martin. It's great to see you. I feel like Zachary adds a lot of value to the show for sure. Legrand Commission. It's strange to see XRP in the green while Bitcoin is down. Yeah, absolutely. I would, buy low, sell high comes to mind. Let's see what else we got here. Wild Deuces says, we are fine with dead air. Okay. VIA is mine. Okay, cool. Fade and Tradfi said, LOL, all good, my friend. Just wondering how degen you got you going lately. Yeah, to be honest with you, I'm not really going all that degen recently. Well, here you go. Here's your answer. I do have some Dex Hunter. So Hunt, if Joe Nickel, if Hunt is sub 150 million, that would be my answer. I do not have a big bag of that, though. It's a pretty small bag. To be honest with you, but that would be the answer. Let's see. Absolutely. And what is Jupe at? Jupe is probably pretty high at this point now. Yeah. Yeah, 1.8 billion. So overall, that's kind of what's up. Good question though. Let's get into a little dueling banjos here. So that was Arthur Hayes' perspective. Now this is Mike Novogratz, Chief Executive Officer over at Galaxy Digital. Over the past several months, expectations concerning the extent and timing of the Fed's rate reduction have rapidly changed. Investors are gradually losing faith in policymakers' ability to reduce borrowing costs without inciting an inflationary resurgence in a robust economy. The CEO's summary of how a rate decrease will help Bitcoin and precious metals reflects a systematic approach, to assist diversification and risk management in a monetary easing ecosystem. Those who prioritize Novogratz research may now view this as a favorable time to realign their portfolios and increase their holdings in assets that tend to gain from changes in monetary policy. So Mike Novogratz, again, dueling banjos, Mike Novogratz saying something that is almost antithesis to Arthur Hayes. They are speaking on slightly different timescales here, kind of commenting on those. But ultimately, guys, I don't think that we're going to be getting cuts until Q3. Why? Well, I kind of defer to Caleb Franzen, who really defers to the 6-month bond markets relative to the effective federal funds rate, which I could pull up, but essentially Q3. Q3 is the answer. We're not going to be getting cuts to the extent that we'll have a bullish outcome that Mike Novogratz is predicting. Bitcoin bulls rejoice. Galaxy Digital CEO believes Fed rate cut will be a benefit to BTC. I think it's more of a binary insight that it will be a benefit in general, not so much that it will be a benefit soon, because it won't. In my opinion, I don't think we're going to be getting those cuts until Q3 of 2024. I should make clear. On the bullish side as well, Hong Kong. Giant Chinese funds apply for spot Bitcoin ETF in Hong Kong as U.S. hype moderates. So there you go. It's all kind of coming to a head here. Industry analysts predict these applications could gain approval as early as the second quarter of 2024, right? So that would be in here. That could potentially, that's where we are, right? We've just broken into Q2. We could potentially see those Hong Kong spot Bitcoin ETFs come online, as early as somewhere in here, maybe May, maybe June. We shall see. With 230 billion and 280 billion in managed assets, respectively, Harvest Fund and China's Southern Fund would significantly elevate participation in Bitcoin-related investment products. So there's those numbers. Let's see what Dune is showing. The overall flows since launch, 12 billion. So from America, 12 billion. The buy thesis is for new inflows essentially into Bitcoin. Now, a lot of that was in grayscale already. So this is probably a bit overinflated if we were doing just a comparison here. So 12 billion so far since then, since the green light essentially was given by the SEC. What percentage of this would go in? I would estimate that it would be higher than by percentage, it would be higher than America, but by total, I don't think we would see quite as aggressive of a dollar amount rotate into Bitcoin because there's just less money in the Asian markets than that are in the United States. But by say a higher percentage, because the Asian markets are very thirsty for more stable, more hard assets, and Bitcoin seems to be emerging as the chief among those. Well, bros, thank you so much for tuning in. It is 9:30, so I'm going to be signing off here, but it's been a pleasure. Got over here on this chart, I apologize for getting a little confused, but it's all in a day's work. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you're staying hydrated, make sure that you're human, and if you're using a stop loss, make sure that you're trading. And this episode was brought to you by iTrust Capital. If you are looking for a tax advantage account to buy and sell your crypto, make sure you head on over to iTrust Capital, and you can head on over there through the link in this description of this video. It's one of the first links. Go ahead and get the best bang for your buck out of crypto by not having to pay all those taxes if you live in the United States. Set it up in an IRA, and you can do that safely and confidently through iTrust Capital, link in the description. Thank you so much, bros, for tuning in. We'll see you at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Trying to make paper, turn that better to cake. Money like Lego, connect the dots, stack bank. We are investing bros. We are investing bros. Army pipe, lethal on trade. Entries and exits, worthy of praise. Tim, the professor of the TA. Shout it out loud on the PA. T-Shrooms news, got the word. Doing better than what he deserves. Beamer, leave no evidence. Soon fly coop with his dividend. Trying to make paper, turn that better to cake. Money like Lego, connect the dots, stack bank. We are investing bros. We are investing bros.
Investing bros. Investing bros. Investing bros. Investing bros. Investing bros.